Welcome back. Here we are.
Here we are. It's,
role reversal today.
I'm looking forward to it.
A wee bit of role reversal. Happy
feel
for you to lead.
Yeah, I feel it's this considers be a bit of therapy, kind of clear the air and try to put the world to rights almost.
I think there's an element of that. I think it comes to the end of the season and it's very much like that.
So speaking then on end of the season, let's flip the script. We spoke last about the potential success that was building at Corstorphine and your coaching role you've had there and your involvement not only at the club but then in the community and working with schools and all that. So as you said, kind of business end of the season, finished with some success. Do you want to share something about that?
That group, I said at one of the very first podcasts that we'd done that group of players, I think we'd lost down at Hoyt by a point in the last minute. But I knew we were always going to be all right, and that was kind of down to how they are as a squad in terms of their mentality and their work ethic. And I knew that at some point Livingston would have a crack in them, and we just had to keep performing. And, you know, we got our opportunity. Livingston lost down at Earlston. We hammered Earlston at our bit. We then beat Livingston at our bit. And really it's just been down to the players' work ethic, really. It's probably the hardest working group of players I've ever worked with. And it kind of reminds me of a kind of old school club in the sense of what it was like 20 years ago when everybody got on, everybody stayed behind, had a beer, very much aiming towards the one goal. And in some ways it's been easy because you knew they were turning up to train with an appetite. You knew they were going to be available largely. And so it was just a case of putting in place the structure how we wanted to play, the intensity that we trained at, and then they done everything else.
So would you say
actually made coaching enjoyable, to be honest, for the first time? And I don't know, I can't remember. Probably. Yeah, no, I can't remember.
And I'm coaching at a different end and a different scale kind of thing, but it's really interesting to hear that it made coaching really enjoyable. I can imagine for myself, I can think of lots of instances where coaching could be quite frustrating, where you feel that you maybe need to bring the energy or the attitude or you need to develop that cohesion within the group. And you've kind of mentioned there that it seems to be quite player driven, that they're all buying in, they all want to achieve, that if you maybe that classic, what everyone asks, what's the secret ingredient, how do you make something successful? Is it when they're all on the same page and they all want the same things, just that environment that they naturally create that then breeds success, would you say?
I think our sessions were harder than our games, to be honest. I think our Tuesday night sessions in particular were pretty brutal.
Test match Tuesdays.
Aye.
I'm glad they're still there.
Yeah,
as a player, I don't miss them. As a coach, though, I love them.
And I'm like that. But some of our sessions were harder than a game. And the boys were that kind of focused Tuesday, Thursday, you know, on the detail as to what we wanted to do in that game, you know, kind of areas that we needed to improve on. That very much it just came a Saturday, you just went, right, go play. And they did, you know, and it was you know, it wasn't always perfect, but there was times when they had to grit it out. The Livingston game was most satisfying. Purely because I think they thought they were going to come and beat us on our own bit. And, you know, been around the game long enough, it never works like that, and certainly not going to work against a team that I coach in terms of being bullied or being out-muscled. And, you know, we had to win it with a penalty in the last minute, and sometimes that's what good teams do. You have to win ugly.
Yeah, that's the nail on the head. Sometimes winning ugly is the way to go.
That's it.
Doesn't matter if you score 2 tries in the game, but if you can grind out the winning result.
And that's the mentality. That's due to the players. You know, and the one of the things that I took out of that game was they got a penalty before we get the penalty to win the game, and every Corstorphine player, as soon as the ball went through the post, every Corstorphine player ran right back to the halfway line as if to say, right, here we go, yeah, we're going, we know what we're doing.
We're not done.
It wasn't a case of, looking around. It was just everybody right back to the halfway line and play.
That when you observe that, not only as a coach or a player, or even just sometimes being just, if you want to say, a fan, just on the sideline, that body language, that head up, chin up, looking forward, going, we're playing to the whistle.
Yeah,
We're
let's
keep
go.
going, let's go again.
And you know, and in that game we had enough chances to put the game away. You know, we were in there 22 for large periods of the game, and we just couldn't cross the try line. We just maybe weren't creative enough. And to be fair, they stuck in and they were physical. But yeah, sometimes you've just got to win ugly, and sometimes winning ugly is the best.
Yeah, that's, I think,
especially when you pop someone's balloon. You know?
Sometimes upsetting a party can be, it can be quite satisfying. It's something you maybe remember, but as you say there, winning ugly or grinding out results or wins is a really good way for teams to actually maybe prove their character. And as you say, if you've observed and seen on Tuesdays in training that they set the standard and they drive what they're looking for, going, our sessions are tougher than how we sometimes play on a Saturday, that maybe prepares them to then, when those Saturdays do come along and you've got to win ugly, that they've been to the well, they've got it in the tank.
And one of the games that I thought in particular, here we go, is Earlston. You know, Earlston, we beat Earlston pretty convincingly down there, but they're tough. You know, they don't lie down.
Scrappy,
you know, and they're physical, and they come at you, and you know they've a good attitude, and we just put them away. We just put 40-odd points on them.
And was that a case of just outplaying them, or was it a case of just going, we're going to play them with their own game?
I think we were fitter. I think we had more desire. I think as soon as we got a couple of scores up, we didn't, you know, throw the baby out the bathwater. We just continued to put the ball in the right areas of the pitch and play in the right areas of the pitch and squeeze our set piece and put them under pressure. And then when we get the ball, we were really calm, and we just took our opportunities. And probably that was, although the Livingston game was satisfying to win it in the last minute, probably the best performance of the season, I would say, was that one.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
And is that because
they've got some good players?
Yeah.
You know, they have got some tough nuts. You know, they've got a lot of experience up front. They've got some nice players in their back line. They play like a Borders team. They move the ball side to side. But they'll try and grunt it out when they can. And to be fair, our boys just were too much.
But ready for that test because the work had gone in advance.
Yeah.
And still keen with Corstorphine, but moving sidestep would be the work you've had in and around that community, linking into that club.
Yeah.
A lot of work in kind of local primary schools, high schools. How's that gone? What's the impact been there?
Very different being back kind of in that role. Very different. And it's like herding cats at times when you're taking primary sessions. However, it's been brilliant. You see the kids' faces when they run out. Rugby, you know, that's what you're there for. And it's been good. There was always going to be a bit of pain at the start. Just because of what was inherited, in the sense of what wasn't done and maybe what was done had to be unravelled and started again. However, pretty sure within the next 6 to 12 months we'll start to see real benefits of the work that's been done there. You know what it's like yourself. It takes, for any programme, it will take 18 months, 24 months before you start to see any shoots of growth.
Totally,
you know?
Yeah.
And it will be the same in other places. So yeah, no, it's been good in the local high schools getting redeveloped. The catchment is becoming bigger. I think they're
are they redrawing the lines into?
I think so.
So is the school itself physically getting bigger as well?
Physically getting bigger.
Okay.
So I think there's going to be new sport facilities put in. However, what they are, I'm not entirely sure.
That's interesting.
Aye, so
it's great to see that growth within a school that'll benefit a community as well. It's really good to hear.
Yeah. So.
And what would you say then, working with, say, the primary schools and the secondary schools, what would be the one bit you would take away if you could share that advice or wisdom? The big thing here, especially coming from a school environment and working with associate primary schools and across an area where you're trying to always grow the game, what would be the one thing you'd maybe try and pass on to anyone listening, saying,
you just got to work. You've got to be prepared to work at it. You've got to be prepared to go through the pain of,
it's not going to be easy,
starting those initiating those, those, and cultivating those relationships with staff, in terms of,
you got to extend a hand and have a handshake and go,
and they've got to trust you. You know, you've got to be reliable. You've got to get access to the kids. I think there's that reliability. I've obviously got to see the kids will enjoy it. But I think you know, what we're trying to show in early doors is that within the primary school and the high school is that there is a pathway to the local club.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they maybe known there was a rugby club in the area, but what does that rugby club do? What does it offer? What teams do they have? So we try to kind of share that through flyers and chats and festivals. So we had a really successful primary festival at Corstorphine Primary, which was good. You know, there was, I don't know
How many kids?
Oh, there was over about 120.
That's amazing. That's what you're after.
You know, what some, I don't know, critical folk would say as well, how many of them did you get at the rugby club? Well, it's not as easy as that.
No,
If it was as easy as that, we'd just run festivals every week, you know, and have hundreds of teams down at the club. You know, so people are, and I'm not saying this in the club, but I'm saying in any rugby club, there's a certain amount of folk that are delusional. You know, a lot of these kids are footballers.
Mm-hmm.
They're athletes. They do gymnastics. They do other things. And you normally find the talented kids who stand out in these festivals or in these sessions are sports folk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, are sports. You know, they're sporty kids. They play football. So try to get them to rugby. It's difficult because their time's already taken up by Tuesday, Thursday at football or a Wednesday at gymnastics. So you're
Saturday mornings are always fully booked. Yeah.
So you're competing against that as well. So it's not just a quick fix. It's going to be a slow burner. You know, and people look at you as if, what do you mean? But that's your job. Aye, that's aye.
Yeah,
so it's my job. So you just leave me to it.
And I think that's when you see 120 kids, primary school event, going from potentially, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe being very little or nothing, perhaps the year before, as you say,
very little.
That hard work, that time, that investment that you need to put in. It's not necessarily going to be easy. It's probably the one thing I would put my hand up to go, I've got some experience and a bit of skin in the game to comment on that. Like in my teaching role, I've been in my school 13 years. It probably took 3, 4, 5 years to grow and develop and nurture, as you say, to get those shoots, to get kids engaged, get them playing, get the primary schools on board, do all those things, and then success comes. But I'm lucky and fortunate because I've been in post that I've had that time there, whereas you sometimes maybe see that you don't get people in the same place for so long.
And my role isn't full time.
No,
you know, it's
and you do a lot of this.
It's incorporated into my business. So you know, you try from a work-life balance. You're trying to plan the amount of time you're in an area. You know, and regardless of what happens next year in terms of school stuff for myself, it'll be easier because we're going to be doing stuff with the academy kids, S&C stuff. You know, with the new build at the club, there's going to be I think there's going to be 2 gym spaces there. So there's an opportunity for us to do S&C in-house with our 14s, with our under 18s who'll be coming up to senior rugby season after next. So, you know, it'll be easier to be in the area, in the schools during the day than before the club, working with the S&C stuff and then coaching at night. So it's a kind of balance for me as well. Ultimately, you've got to try and make money rather than be from, you know, one area of the city to another area to another area.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely sure where my Saturday mornings will be next year. And yeah, I don't. I've had 2 years coaching at Dollar, which I've really enjoyed. Really enjoyed this year working with a guy called Don Caskey, but he needs no introduction. He's coached Georgia, Moseley, played for Gloucester, Scotland A. You know, working with him this year has been invaluable. But I'm not entirely sure what the new structure will be in terms of who'll be where next year within the teams at the school. And there's that much kind of movement within schools, you know, in the sense of when I look at other kind of schools, I see some of the Glasgow schools, you know, who have rugby programmes and full-time people in charge, and they are not performing week in, week out, and they're not getting results. And
yep.
You know, it's. I'd imagine it could be very difficult to be a director of rugby in a school at the moment. Maybe not so much like the top schools. You've got your Watsons, you've got your Stumel, you established schools with established programmes. And I'm not going to say they run themselves because I know these guys in these schools put in a tremendous amount of effort to deliver the programmes that they do. But I can imagine there'll be some pressure in and around that second, third tier of private or independent schools who parents are looking for results. You know, some of your Glasgow schools. Yeah, I can imagine it's pretty tough.
So you mentioned there like movement between schools. Do we think then? So I hadn't really thought about it, but I'd heard again.
I think in terms of kids.
Yeah, and that's where I'm going.
Yeah.
It's sort of second or third hand information's come to me, so I can't really. I'm not trying to inflate a rumour here or kind of throw petrol on the fire, but I'm hearing that some parents who are really keen for their children to play at the highest level or access to that, if they were maybe scheduled to go to, for example, it's the Open Conference thing is probably where most of this comes round to.
Yeah, but there's 2 leagues within that league as well.
So a kid who might have been going to, say, a school, we're thinking about sending them to, I don't know, we're going to send them to High School of Dundee. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, well, actually, they're not really going to get access to playing at the top level. They're still going to get a great experience. They're going to get a fantastic... I am not here to discredit the High School of Dundee and the work they do. Mm-hmm. It's myself as a teacher, like I understand at the coal face as a person who's generally flying solo 99% of the time, I get what it takes. But parents who want those results are now taking that kid out of that environment and going, well, we're not going to go High School of Dundee. Maybe the next nearest one who is at that upper level, if we're talking about Open Conference and that the tiers within that, we're going to put them over at Strathallan because it's just along the road. Well, it's not along the road. It's geographically closer to them. And then all of a sudden, High School of Dundee are like, well, our player pool actually drops down. That's one less bum on seat. That's one less set of parents who are going to be involved and supporting. So I hadn't thought about it that way.
I think it'll just get worse. I think it'll get worse because you will have players who will see the Open Conference as a shop window.
Yes.
And parents will see it as a shop window for their kid. And listen, you know, it's about creating... I maintain there's 2 leagues within that league anyway. Mm. You've got Watson, Stumel, Strath. You've then got everybody else, I think. And that's not been unfair to anyone. I just think that's the reality of it because these programmes were successful before they went into this conference. Whether you add to that conference, I don't know what value that brings because who is there? GHA or I don't know.
Robert Gordon's.
Well, yeah. You could, so
Melrose,
Glenalmond as well.
Curry.
Yeah. So I mean that it depends.
So it's there, but if there's room to grow it and expand it for schools and clubs who are able to access it, then I think that's great. We want to get as many players. We want to. How do you get the lower to middle, the middle to upper? That's really what we want to try and get that system in place. But if we then, I'm not saying just add in willy-nilly. I'm sure there must be very stringent criteria, boxes to tick in order to make that happen. But let's hypothetically say the Currys, the Robert Gordons, the GHA, the Melrose Elstons, like some of our really competitive schools. If we look at the schools finals this year and club finals, who has been really pushing the top end, who's actually come away with
let's go with a strong rugby program as well.
So if we put all them in, does it then potentially dilute what we've got? Or does it then actually, or does it make it better? That's a great question. Time will tell. Or do you then actually find if we put 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more schools and or clubs in there, do you then just go back to what we had in the first place?
You know, I would have a 12.
Do you know what I mean?
I would have a league of 12. I would have a conference
of
12.
And from that 12, you play every once. So you take yourself out, so there's 11 fixtures. Yeah. And from that, it's a split of, say, 6 at home, 5 away, and then the next season you'll be flipped the other way, 5, 6 type thing.
And then after it, you could have the top half playing against each other and the bottom half playing against each other, like you do in the playoffs in the Premiership.
So in that instance, then running the season hypothetically September, first weekend September, second week September. I know that some of the school dates vary from some of the independent schools compared to the clubs and the state schools. So yeah, that tentative first or second week September. We then run all the way through to maybe end of November. And then in that window
the season comes in.
I'll just put that back in.
No, but they then go. But then in November, they then go and play at their club. See this. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't have the answer to that, but there's something that jumped into my head while you were talking there, is that there are some schools who will offer full scholarships to players. And this is where I say there's 2 leagues within that conference just now. You'll have some schools who will offer 100% scholarship to a player.
Right.
To a school who maybe offer 20%. Or
Right.
maybe not offer a scholarship. Where are they going to go? Where are they going to go? They're going to go to the school that's offering 100% scholarship. You know, so it's a level playing field in some aspects, in the sense of kids being in an independent rugby programme and being in that environment. However, there's levels, you know. So an emerging, and some people might not be happy when I say this. If you take Glenalmond, for example, they would be seen as an emerging independent school if they were coming into the conference now, which may be wrong, but
As in, sorry, coming into the open conference.
Yeah, coming into the open
whereas anyone
conference.
rugby circles know Glenalmond, they're heavy hitters. They know their
Yeah,
onions.
Yeah, no, they do. And I'm quite sure that they would be more than competitive, and probably quite rightly so, a bit peeved at why they weren't in it the first time. But if they come in, you know, and then you talk about scholarships and stuff, then, you know, they're going to be more than competitive. You know, because you're going to have, if you look at a lot of the age grade teams that's come out this year at 16s and 18s, Glenalmond feature strongly in that.
Yep.
In terms of their players, so there's a strong rugby programme there. Whether they're offering 100% scholarship or not, or whether it's Merky who are offering 100% scholarship or not, the Glenalmond in particular seem to be rising on the rise, and they're obviously very, you know, they want to be at the top table, and quite rightly so.
And I wonder if that, sorry to interrupt, if that links directly back into something we said earlier about, we used the high school of Dundee analogy. Let's say we've got a prospective parent, family, son who's maybe going to come into a rugby programme age 11 or 12, about to go into high school. We've got the option geographically of where they're placed. We could go to Glenalmond, who are currently not in conference, or we could go to Strathallan. Is their decision potentially made for putting them in the shop window?
Yes.
Because that player migration,
it is.
It's even, I think that's potentially hit clubs. Again, Stirling's on my doorstep, and again, I'm very supportive of the club and what they do, but what I've seen firsthand is, in my state school programme, I have seen at the start of the season, sort of August, September time, on paper, 14 club players. That's players at under 16, 14 of them on my player list. And from that, it was very quickly we got to the end of November, that 14, I had 6 no longer playing. I was fortunate, maybe it's the word I'll use, or is the correct word. 4 of them have younger birthdays, so opted to come out that conference and go play down. Now, 1 or 2 have struggled to get into that 15 squad because of the position that they're in. They're up against another player. Coaches need to get to know that player as well. It's not their group. So they've had to work hard and battle, but they're still playing some rugby, but they're now in that really awkward thing of to return to the conference after a potential negative first-hand experience. And then the rest have stayed in the 16s group, but really not enjoyed what they're doing, and have probably now been forced out because there's other players from across the country, because where Stirling is geographically located, it is blessed that it is easily accessible, that we're finding players who have been at the club for 8, 9, 10 years. It's their local club. They're at that awkward age where they can't afford to travel to go to another club, even if there's a Falkirk, an Alloa, a Bannockburn, Hillfoot's on their doorstep. Again, geographically, Falkirk, there's loads right on the doorstep. But because they're 15, 16, by the time they finish school and they get home, probably not do homework because they're 15 or 16. They should be doing the right things. They want to squeeze in some time with pals, go to the gym or do what they're doing.
They
fall away. And that for me has been really frustrating, because I've somewhat invested in these kids, because they come to my school and I see them 5 days a week. So when you see a kid, wee Jimmy comes in, heads down, really frustrated on a Monday, like, what's up, pal? That didn't play the weekend. Now, Sunday didn't play could be they wanted to play but weren't available to travel, or they were just unwell, or it was Granny's birthday, and these things happen. Sometimes just a kid's got a wee pouty lip. Other times it's a case of, I've not been picked for the past 4 weeks. I'm still training, I've not been picked. And you're like, right, okay.
Yeah, but also these clubs are taking players from other clubs, which are forcing kids who've been at that club of origin for years out.
So then, does that origin club, and we've maybe touched on this in the past, does that origin club then struggle to field teams? 100%.
Aye. And you said about Strath or Glenalmond. That decision's made, is to go to Strath. You go to Strath because they're in the conference.
If you want your
However,
child in the shop window.
You open it up and you have Glenalmond in, then all of a sudden it's Glenalmond that's going to benefit. You know, I would think. So I definitely would increase it. I think there's quality there within other independent schools and clubs to increase the quality and increase, you know, the experience for the younger players as well.
Is there kind of blue sky thinking?
Glenalmond done outstandingly well at the Roslyn Part Sevens. I think they won the under 16 plate. Now that's no mean feat.
You're playing some big boy rugby down at that. I mean, it's a world and a sphere that within my school we'll never be able to access and travel to. I'd love to organise a trip one day for the kids to go and see it. But again, that's a completely different story, so we'll kind of leave that one there. But from what you're seeing, again, because it's now so visual, kids are seeing things going, so have you seen this? And you're seeing clips of 16-year-olds who are monsters. Men. They
you know, and that's
they're 16-year-olds built like you, just these absolute huge units.
And I've seen on LinkedIn. I just looked at the photo of Glenalmond when they'd obviously won the plate, and you look at the size of some of the boys. You're like, whoa. So again, they are going to add value, absolutely. You know, Robert Gordon's, they're going to add value, maybe. GHA, they would make sure they add value because I think they're the type of club that they would go and get it. I think they would go for it. I think the potential issue with GHA would be is that if you have kids at St Al's and Hutchie or other private schools who are
do we then go
playing
for
at GHA, so that what happens there with that, I don't know.
Do you go for a firm rule then, potentially, like a line in the sand must be drawn that at 16s and 18s, if we use GHA, big club on the south side there, if we use them as an example, that their kids who are in the open conference are very strict, that it's open conference only fixtures for them. They can't, you can't jump, kind of your...
Well, there's a rule that you're not meant to play 2 games in a weekend.
I totally get
and
that.
I know for a fact, there was a game went ahead last week, and it would remain nameless who it was, but there was a game, and they played for the school. So a lot of the kids played for the school on the Saturday, and then the Sunday they played for their club. They're not meant to do that. Now, that's up to the clubs to police that.
Yeah.
I don't know, when I was that age, I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
So I was the same.
I don't think there's any. Let me qualify that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it if it's managed properly in terms of load.
Yeah, minutes played.
Yeah,
fixture, because you could play. And again, my kids come back at me all the time about this, just going, we could do both. We could do this, that, and it's for us. Our big the thorn in the paw for many of my kids is seeing other schools and players they know who can go on and be successful in cup competitions. We just can't access because the cup tide rule. It's until that changes, we're not even at the blocks. But I then get frustrated in the sense of
but then you could have a Stirling County / Wallace conference team. Well, you could. You could have a Stirling under 16. Wallace High School side. Why not?
That's a lot of additional workload. That
but you know, you potentially could because you strengthen everything that's in the area if you do that.
Yeah.
So then you have 2 teams. You know, you have one team that's playing on a Saturday in the conference. You have one team who's playing against other schools. You know, like your, I don't know, I'm just pulling names at hat. Kelvinside, Hutchie, whoever. So as many kids argue, but again, it's a Stirling County banner.
Two badges on one shirt. I've always found someone somewhere will always get frustrated by it because even though it's supposed to be a positive link in a partnership, and again, it's maybe not our generation, it's maybe a different, it's maybe parents. I'm not quite sure, I'm not pointing fingers, but I would stem somewhere that somebody's going to get that they feel they're not getting the return they deserve on it. But speaking of, say, schools like Wallace, like hunting down great fixtures, because my big thing for me is I would love to expose our kids as best they can to, because they could play, and I've actually got a really busy group of first year boys. I've got 24 on paper, and another 2 or 3 champing at the heels going, can I come on a wee trial, sir? Can we get a wee game? And like that. I'm blessed with numbers. And in that group, you've got everything from kids who've played from the age of 4 or 5 to newbies who've picked it up with me in August. And it's a great group to work with. It's similar to that. How do you just create that environment? They self-police themselves.
Yep.
They're really great to work with in terms of it'd be a group for me one to watch for a couple of years' time. How far can I push them in sort of 3-4 years' time? Back to my original point there was we actually had 3 excellent fixtures against St Al's. And I want to give a bit of a shout out there to St Al's for the fact that their school, their coaching staff, their players, they took time out of their busy schedule to come and play a state school like Wallace High School during the week. We played at S1s on the Thursday, and the following Tuesday we played S2 and S3 at the same time. All big pitch, 13/15 aside. Great. All 3 fixtures were very, very competitive, which was brilliant. And for my boys, getting those opportunities to test themselves against, maybe as we've touched on there, some of those, and it maybe, I don't want to sound rude, but like there's different tiers within that independent sector at the minute, with maybe say there was big conference schools, and then maybe the likes of maybe your St Al's or your Kelvin Sides or maybe your Morrisons. And I'm not discrediting any of these schools saying you're not as good, but for us, that's maybe where we want to be pushing ourselves. And the coaching staff from St Al's, the players were all brilliant. They came through so polite, great games of rugby kind of thing. Now Wallace snuck 3 wins, which I think even some of my players walked off the pitch going, holy moly, but none of them were whitewashes. Like the first year boys was 21-19. They came down to conversion. Like, this is phenomenal. And they played big pitch stuff, but everybody got game time, everyone played, and it was a great environment. So I think there's great opportunities there for schools and players to get exposed to the right fixture. Whereas are we, and I use my 16s group that pretty much just got obliterated, does that, by putting those kids in the wrong type of fixtures, does that disengage them? If there's evidence clear of it happens in the 16s group, sure as shooting, I reckon it's going to happen at first year boys, 14s girls,
100%.
15s. Players who are either told you're playing that game and take a scud in where they don't want to play, but also then I think we also need to, as teachers, as coaches, educate our players that you playing in a game where you win 40-50-0 and by half time we're mixing it up and changing it, that's appropriate for some players on that field because that's the level of the game, but the score result has been heavily weighted one side because of 4 or 5, 6 key core players. Maybe links into that managing players and workload. Should they play that game or only 20 minutes in that game, come out, and could they then play 30 or 40 minutes in a more challenging environment? Yes, that needs managed. That's not easy, but it's doable. And I actually then think that original 40-50 point, have to mix it up, goes development. I hear firsthand from players just going, it's quite frustrating, it was boring, I had to play another team, this, that and the other. And like, they're happy to get a game of rugby. But if we really want to, how do we get more kids operating at that upper level and chase the Watsons, the Stu Mells, how do we get up to that Strathallan? How do we get those players up to that level? We'll never reach that in our school. But how do we get players? And as you say, some players I think need challenged, some need pushed, they need their workloads managed.
How do you get players to that? They get a scholarship.
Well,
in the current state, that's what happens.
And
because if you have a outstanding player at your school,
I've got several,
right? And then all of a sudden,
tooting the Wallace horn there,
and then all of a sudden, he's a big ball carrier, or he's a really quick winger. We need a big ball carrier. We need a quick winger. We'll just take you. And ultimately, that's not just what happens from independent school to state school. That's what happens from independent school to independent school.
Oh, really?
It's not. I'm not saying that it happens regular, but it has been known to happen that players are offered scholarships by certain schools who are in certain schools already, and they go. It's just the nature of the beast.
We have at my school had first-hand experience of that over the past sort of 13 years. There was a big gap in the middle with the COVID crash, and we had to rebuild a lot of things. I think everyone did, but we had experience pre that. We've had experience post that, where great players, exceptional players who are in my playing environment, who are also then at my local club as well, who are then partaking in that. And again, I have no club involvement in terms of I have no coaching affiliation, it is very much just a positive partnership. Eddie Pollock down the Rugby Club, Dio, is doing a great job. He supports me. There's a couple of MAs in the area who come and support what I do with some training, some after school stuff. They support some teams as and when they can, but I also think that the best work that they're doing and what the club are trying to do is get into local primary schools, get into the other secondaries where there's not rugby. I shouldn't be able to monopolise all that MA support just because I have rugby growing. I would love to hear and see so much more success stories. A bit like what you've been doing at Corstorphine, really growing that I think is imperative. So I'm really fortunate that they're there as a big sort of backup plan B, plan C for me. But when you have some of these exceptional players, it totally hamstrings what I would love to aspirationally have for my kids. I would love to be able to one day to stand on the sideline and see my players, girls at 14s or 16s, boys 15s, 16s, 18s, in a national competition final, whether that be at somewhere, like today it's the Cali Cup finals. So have something like that, but for schools where we're taking on a St Al's, we are taking on a Hutchie, we are taking on a high school of Glasgow, and seeing them be really competitive and some of things.
See, that can't be that far away. That can't be undoable.
I think as performance, the kids want to get there. As a coach and a teacher, aspirationally, I want to get there. And how we support them through that, we'll maybe link round to that in a minute.
Shock horror. The system doesn't allow it.
Well, we're hamstringed there. But further frustratingly, and I would never take credit for the players who have been pinched to go to other schools, credit going, I did all that. No, the players have done that. It's the individuals have done that. It's their parents. It's the tribe to raise that kid. They've put that work in. I'm just a very small part along the way. My only thing, and I tell the kids, just if you make it, only need one thing.
Tickets.
2 tickets. 2 tickets. And that's all it is.
Right.
That and a handshake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's some of the kids asked me before as well, what's your why? Or what's your driver? Or your coaching philosophy. Mine's is, in years to come when the kids are no longer under my umbrella of Wallace High School, how am I greeted from those players? Is it a high five, a handshake, a hug? I've done my job. If they cut across the road when you see them, when they see me, or they turn the other way, or I don't know you, I've obviously let them down. And that for me, that's your feedback. But losing those exceptional players to different playing environments, I will never stand in their way. It's just frustrating that what could have been if we had kept those players in-house and we had access to formal competition.
If you had access to national competitions, and what's stopping? So, when Lithgow Academy are in the Cup, and other schools like that are in the Cup, why are Wallace not in the Cup?
So, it's my biggest thing that I've always had feedback from. It's the competition tide rule. So, because where my players are...
So, the likes of Mar plays Mar rugby. The likes of Lithgow plays Lithgow rugby.
Balfron plays Balfron Strathendrick. So, that's there. So, they play some midweek games, which comes under the banner of Balfron High School.
But you telling me there isn't a way that could work?
I think there's
Wallace still in.
There's something should be able to work, I think. How we go about it, I don't know.
I would think so.
But I actually think it's not as easy as just scrapping the rule. But it also is as easy as that. We are the only, and again, I'll happily stand in, someone else correct me if I'm wrong, but from the kind of the basic digging I've done around it, for mainstream sports done in Scottish schools, so rugby, football, athletics, swimming, basketball, netball, hockey, for the Scottish schools competitions that are available in the majority of these mainstream sports and activities that are delivered by independent and secondary schools, we're the only one that kids are not allowed to play for their school and their club. So so football, that's the obvious one, right? So we could have a kid in third year. Let's say the Jimmy. Jimmy is a footballer, plays for Stirling Albion. That's his local club. He's at a decent level. He's also a right good rugby player. Maybe he's that magic winger or fullback, right?
Yeah. He's told not to play rugby.
He's not necessarily told not to play rugby, but he plays for me and he loves playing with his pals and he loves playing in school. We've got an under-16 competition. We've got a chance to have a cup run, if you want to call it. Then that might be bowl, plate, shield, whatever bit of silverware you want to class it as, but it's a national competition where he has that opportunity to play. He could play because he plays football, but all of my actual club players who
Yeah,
play
yeah,
rugby
rugby.
are not allowed to
Doesn't
play
make sense.
because they're playing for the club, and the club they're at automatically enters them into what is the Scottish Cup and Cali Cup. So there's a competition tied rule. So I could field a team of non-club players, but I don't have 15 of them. I've got 5 or 6 in every age group. We wouldn't be competitive then.
No,
Whereas,
there'd be no point to it.
whereas the same laddie, Jimmy, the winger, plays for Stirling Albion, proudly plays rugby for Wallace High School, proudly plays in the under-16s boys football team at the school, and they can have a Scottish Cup run, they lose that round, they go into the plate or the shield, or it's the same drop-down format. So he gets a national cup run for his school. He also gets a national cup run for his club. And there's no frustration there. Yes, we need to manage that kid, his studying, his attendance, his workload. It's all the things we spoke about. But in no way are they told, no, you can't do both. If you're playing the Scottish Cup for your club, still in Albion, you can't play for your school. No. It's frustrating for the fact that I have players, let's go back to that first year group, aspirationally, who have just had, for them, they went into that game against St Aloysius, and again, 21-19, if we played another 4 or 5 minutes, they could have scored 2 or 3 more tries. They were actually probably the more dominant team on the day. They probably deserved to win. We've a bit maybe like snuck that one against Livingston. We've maybe just pulled that one away. Fantastic for us. Great for them, because the first thing they said afterwards was, we'd love to play that again. Like, do you want to come through to us? The answer is yes. If I can look to book a minibus, we'll do it. But now there's a group that we've given exposure to who maybe they'll take that as belief that they maybe have an opportunity to be more competitive and actually dare to dream. Why do we not give kids an opportunity to, rather than just dare to dream, to maybe experience? Are we likely to win? No.
It's a Scottish rugby thing.
But we would love, again, I'd love to stand the sideline one day at the Hive or at the Big House in the Bowl or wherever it would be, and just have that moment of soaking it in and going, the kids have done something great here. They could be really proud of this. I think that would be phenomenal. But it's a problem that it's as quick and as easy as getting rid of the competition tied rule. But
I
at the
think
same
what you're
time,
relying on then is people to be transparent, but there are people who are currently under the current regulations not being transparent. So kids are playing on a Saturday for their school and for their club on the Sunday. So
and that's for
that's
me
going
then.
on now.
It's
But
that
what they're doing is kidding everybody else on. That they're not. But in actual fact they are, because some clubs have been reprimanded for it already.
And as an educator and as a parent, my big thing there is we've got player welfare. If we're managing loads appropriately, I've got no issue with it. However, maybe am I being a Boy Scout and hoping that everyone just can play nice and for the good of the game? I sometimes, friend of mine, he's not rugby inclined, he's actually a business guy down south. He's a bit like, I think sometimes Chris just been, because in the business world it's cutthroat, it's black or white, it's numbers on a page, it's how it is. It's like, if you're not up to the mustard, you're gone. Like, don't hesitate, that just you're cut, that's it, simple. I said, it's not how it works in my sphere. We need to, how you speak to the kids, how you manage these things. And he goes, you're maybe sometimes too honest, Chris, and you're a bit of a Boy Scout, that if the rules are the rules, you'll put your hand up and that's the line in the sand, that's what we're going to play by. Whereas not everyone's going to play fair. He goes, think about like a boxing match. Everyone wants a nice, good, clean fight. And that's what they say at the start. But if there's a chance to get a wee cheap shot in there or get one, people will take it. Because
it's going on. It is going on, because there are clubs who are just clearly defying it.
That's frustrating. Because who loses in that instance? Long term, who loses? The sport. So we kind of tiptoed around it a wee bit there, but how have you found, or maybe what is your take on supporting players? Because you said you've had an environment this year that's been really successful at Corstorphine with men, but you've also then flipped the script and go right to the end of the scale, working with young kids again. How you manage them are quite different. But in terms of support, and I'll kind of leave that open in the sense of emotionally, mentally. I find I get kids always asking for feedback, but it's a clearer way of just going, how do I get better? Like, I need some support, I'm needing help. How have you found that with the group you're working with as young men in the team?
I think the group that I have or a senior group that I have at Corstorphine, they're not high maintenance, they're not hard work. You know,
It's a dream.
They're not. You know, they're really not. Don't get me wrong, there's characters in there, but there's not.
But for
I think, but that comes. There's other pressures that come with that. Mortgages, self-employment, you know,
families,
marriage, kids, you know. So that's and that, you know, is another is something else. It's its own entity in the sense of that. You know, you've been there. You can empathise. You know guys you need to just leave alone. You know, there's guys you need to maybe go and speak to. But again, it's been very easy. In fact, and in some way they've done more for me that way than I've done for them.
I think people overlook that as coaches. Like that street runs both ways. How much you learn back from them.
Well, it does, and you know, they've been very good with me. The past, I kind of past, you know, 12 months, you know, in my personal life has been pretty. There's been a lot of change for the better, and you know, there's 2 or 3 guys who are at that club who have helped me navigate my way through that. In terms of support, you know, when I look at young players, you know, there's that much pressure on young players, and parents don't help. You know, they don't help. You know, I'm not saying all of them, but some of them don't help in the sense of, you know, they're maybe trying to live their life through their kid, you know, and try to make their kid. And everybody wants the best for their kids, but man, sometimes you're like, what?
Sometimes let it marinate, let it breathe. The best 12-year-old is not the best 16-year-old, the best 16-year-old is not the best 25-year-old.
They put enough pressure on themselves because they get social media, they know if they're not picked for the pathway, then what happens if I don't get picked for the pathway? Does that mean I'm not a rugby player? What? You know, and then also, I don't really hear a lot about the support that goes on within that Scottish rugby environment at 15s, at 16s level, at 18s level in terms of mental health, in terms of mental health skills, to try and give them the skills mentally to deal with adversity. I don't think, I could be wrong, but I don't hear much about it.
No.
And I think that's a big thing that we miss. I think probably the primary school kids, they just dote about. They've got their teacher and they just, you know, they're not. But you know, high school kids,
of youth.
High school kids are, you know, with everything that's going on, you know, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, man, it's wild. And they kind of, that's the age group where we need to, in terms of young rugby players, we need to give them the skills to be able to deal with bumps in the road. And I don't think that happens enough. And I think the reason it doesn't happen enough is because there's not enough people out there confident to just go and have a conversation.
And by people to have a conversation, are you talking then coaches, people involved at the
coaches,
club, like
I'm
welfare officers,
I'm pretty open
teachers?
about but I mean, I've struggled with depression since I was 24, 47 now.
That's very honest, for up.
And I remember sitting in the living room. I had my back to the wall, and it was a big bay window, and I remember the sunlight coming in through it, going, something not right here.
Right.
You know, you need to try and get to the bottom of this. I've never ever got to the bottom of it. I've learned how to manage it probably better. You know, a lot of that comes from childhood, and you carry, you know, so a lot of people say, you got to let things go, but sometimes when you're at an age, I think between the ages of 15 to 25, 26, there are certain things that you're never going to be able to shake. There are certain things that you're never going to be able to fully understand. But what you can do is you can learn how to navigate your way through those feelings and, to a certain degree, understand what works for you in the sense of how you cope with that. And there's more people out there than you think who are going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's so simple. Are you okay? They say aye. Then you ask them again, and they're like, no. That is so true, you know, because if you can crack, you know, and people have to almost crack, and if you crack, then men being men see that as a sign of weakness. However, when you crack, the relief you get from cracking and being able to talk, you're really thankful that you done it.
Mm-hmm. And that cracking potentially
Oh, and
is
listen,
a chance to rebuild.
oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times I've had to rebuild my life. You know, I don't know. It's just, you know, some of the decisions that you kind of, and I'm pretty open about it. You know, there's nothing to hide. You know, anybody that knows me well, there are lots of people out there who think they know me and have an opinion on me, who don't know me, and I don't really care what their opinion of me is. I care about what their opinion is of people who are close to me, not about people who I wouldn't go and ask advice for. You know, and those people who are maybe watching this know who they are, and I've got no time for that or them whatsoever, and I never will. However, people that really know me, like the group that I've worked with this year, immediate family, people who I'm close to, know the kind of character that I am, and that I'll go the full hog and more to do the right thing at the right time.
For the right people.
For the right people, exactly. For the right people, because you know you're going to get it back. You know, and I'm not saying it's a transactional process. However, there's everybody likes to have something given back. It's nice. It's life. It's human nature. You know, and I think that when you have people who are in your corner and they kind of see kind of the stages of life the stages of your life that you've went through, the people who are really happy for you are the people who are smiling there at the end in the corner, and the people who see you getting somewhere who aren't really around are the people that's been on your coattails and you're like, where are you? And I'll be really honest about this, right? And it sounds petty, right? But we had obviously won the league at Corstorphine this year. Now, there's people I hear from when things aren't going well. See, as soon as things go well, don't hear from them. So see them, they're gone. They're gone. And I have no intention of interacting or with that. You know, I get at an age now, 47, where if you like me, if you don't, you don't. But if you've got me in your corner, you have someone in your corner.
Dependable.
Yeah. And someone who will go the extra mile for you. And I think people are quick to judge, certainly within rugby circles. I think rugby in the west of Scotland especially can be quite vociferous in the sense of reputation. But people who cast aspersions on people's reputation normally don't know them or have never worked with them. So therefore should really keep their opinion to themselves. And I think there's I don't know how many times I've heard someone say, oh, such and such is this way or such and such is that way. And I'm like, who did you hear that from? Oh, I heard it from such and such. And such has been saying it to everybody else. But he's never actually spoke to the person.
Second hand, third hand, fourth hand. Just
we're in the playground here.
Whispers,
you know, yeah, grab, you know.
And that analogy of I heard it from someone who heard it from someone, heard it from someone, heard it from someone, that's tale as old as time. And again, how we support young players, as
100%.
in men, women. Again, that's the environment I work in. It's 11 to 18-year-olds. I see the kids practically either in my classes or on field sessions, or I'll have kids coming, like, I'm thinking about doing some gym work. What should we be focusing on? The first thing I say is, come back to me in 3 weeks when you can do X amount of bodyweight stuff. I'd always challenge them, do something different and just go, you're really committed for this first. Like, I need to you almost try to push them away before you just throw everything at them, kind of thing. Like, how much do you really want it? But I was actually chatting to a group of coaches before where they were talking about player profiling, and they were like height and weight and tactical skills and technical skills and this, that, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, that's really interesting. I think we need to know some of these things. But just see, from my perspective, I see the kids walking through the corridors Monday through Friday. You might only see the kids, as you say, Tuesday, Thursday, 90 minutes for each one. You don't necessarily, and I can understand their point of view, they don't necessarily have time. Training starts at 6:30. Okay. 6:20, they may be down, quick chat, meeting the kids, hello to mums and dads kind of thing. Cones are going out, ready to go, but 6:30, bang, go. Whereas I need to flip the script and go, I need to make sure, first and foremost, emotionally and mentally, like, where are those kids at? Big things that and you've maybe seen from on-field sessions I've done is manners going a long way. Please, thank yous, good mornings, how are yous? Like, look someone in the eye, a handshake, a fist bump, a high five. My kids are probably sick to the back teeth. We'll finish a drill, and if our drill is done well, high five a teammate, tell them they did a good job, like, celebrate that success, support one another. Like, you make a mistake, shake it off. Like, it's all these little tools that I'm trying to teach the kids on a daily basis. They probably don't realise they're doing it, but it's just that for me, it needs to be that repetition, because I think that we're maybe overlooking some simple support structures that we can give the kids that then might, I'm not saying I've got a solution, but it might then help that group of kids when they become 16, 17, 18, all the way through to 25, when the bumps in the road come, to realise, all right, we're not at panic stations.
Yeah.
We're no, calm down, Mr. Manning, calm down, Mr. Manning. We're actually at, like, okay, adversity. And I think one of those big things for the kids I've worked with is that rejection, or that I'm not good enough. It's because they're maybe not on a team sheet, or they're maybe on the bench, and trying to educate kids that the bench is not a dead space. It's a chance to come and make an impact. Do you know what I mean? And it's phrasing things a different way. See, when you go back to that player profile and think height, weight, we can't weigh kids in school. We're not allowed to. For obvious reasons, it's common sense.
And see when you have, if you have a certain player who's a certain size and he can run a certain speed, he's going to get in. He's going to get in to the pathway without knowing if he can catch, pass, or tackle. We know the other way about it. We're not meant to make rugby players into athletes rather than athletes into rugby players. I don't know if that's right, or what they're thinking is. However, if you've got a rugby player who's talented, you make them a better athlete. You know, I mean, how many players have you seen who are athletes that can't catch, pass, no interest in contact whatsoever? No. You know, so.
But they score 4 tries every game.
Well, you know what, and you're like, and that's what leads to rejection. That's what leads to players, and kids are not daft. You know, they go along to these pathway sessions and they'll see players and they'll go, he's maybe not as good as me, or I've played against him and I've burnt him on the outside twice, or I've dominated him in the scrum before, and then all of a sudden they're in, but they're out. So it's about feedback, you know, and it's not just feedback. It's not just a case of you've done this, but you know that's and this is what we need you to do. It's how do you do that? So it's a case of, right, you need to improve your scrummaging. Right, okay, I need to improve my scrummaging. How do I improve my scrummaging? Well, it's about foot position. It's about your core. It's about height and engagement. It's maybe about starting to go into the gym and learn about the compound basic lifts within the gym for safety and for technique and for body shape. They're not getting that. There's no danger someone is going to turn around and tell me that they're getting individual feedback is specific of that. In fact, I know they're not, because I've seen some of the feedback for the pathway stuff. And it's generic. Yeah,
I think if we use the scrummaging, so let's say Jimmy was spoke about Big Jimmy. Big Jimmy is maybe a lock, or he's a front 5 player. Big Jimmy needs that as a 15-year-old who's so impressionable, who probably deep down, if you were to ask him, what do you really want? Never mind what your mum, your dad, your stepdad, your mum, your granny, what they want for you. What do you really want? They might want to be a rugby player in some capacity. Now, they might be a rugby player who is a first 15 player at Corstorphine, who goes and wins the league. Amazing. They might ask me, no, I want to run it for Glasgow, Scotland. Amazing. Right. How do we support that player on that journey? So as you say, that feedback needs to be there, but also I think that feedback needs to be clearly then given with some detailed, tangible work-ons.
Yeah.
So as you say, it might be actually, we've noticed core strength's probably a bit weak, so we'd like to see
start your first point.
So your first protocol. Yeah. Body height we're noticing in the later stages of the game, which is probably late into your fitness kind of thing. You're kind of struggling to get low and stay strong. So whatever that might be, that's the level it needs to go in, because I think then for a kid,
with a timeline.
With a timeline, to then know it's a no for just now. We're going to take, there's 180, we're taking 60 forward. Fine. I'm butchering numbers, whatever they might be, hypothetically. See the 120. It's a no for just now. But see, in 8 weeks' time, here's your work-ons. We're going to bring the 120 we've said no to back. And from that, we're going to break them down into there's front 5, there's middle 5, whatever.
Yep.
And that's then just go, okay, right, Jimmy, you came in, we sent you away to work on this. First of all, have a conversation.
Yeah.
Have you done that? Some kids go, nah, right? Okay, well, no offence, Jimmy.
You're not coming back.
You're not coming back.
Aye.
Those who have, so maybe at your 120 you brought back, you're maybe actually only looking at maybe 80 or 90 kids. Okay, from the 80 or 90, I'll see you again in a further 8 weeks. I want you to go and work on. And I think then that then gives the kids to realise that it's not as a hard right no, it's a not just now.
And
go develop these areas
see with
and
that.
see that.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I then think that we'd have more kids, because I'm very mindful. I suppose any coach, any teacher, any parent is really, because they want, as you said, we've touched before, we want our kids to be successful, want them to win, want to play at the highest level, want them to be successful they can be in all of their endeavours. But it might take more time for some kids. I've had some kids who were probably quite poor in first year, second year, third year, but then all of a sudden fourth year, penny drops and they're top tackler, great catch and pass, acceleration, physically matured a bit, mentally matured a bit. You go,
now they bring them back and retest them for conditioning.
I get that, but why are we not bringing back retesting them for skills in the game?
Exactly. Because, and you know, it's like when you look at, we select in to out rather than out to in, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we get, you know, you know, like there's a couple of young props who I've worked with who they've brought back for retesting for their Bronco. Aye, right, okay, right. So they can run at 0.1 second quicker than what they could do the last time. That could be down to not having been fueled properly. It could be down to having a long day at school, sleep, whatever, right? Seconds. However, where is the how are you measuring their progression from when you cut them to where they are now, in the sense of their skill development, their individual skill development? You know, if they're a prop or if they're a scrum half, is it box kicking? Or if they're a 10, is it they're kicking out of hand? What is it? How are you measuring their development other than you can run a Bronco quicker? It's insane.
Do we think that's
Absolutely
not happening
insane.
because there's just not the bodies? There's just not the people to do it? Or do we think it's just not happening because it's just easy to say no? So that's maybe a loaded question. It's maybe not fair to pin that on you, sorry.
I don't know is the answer. I do see some SRU guys out watching youth games and watching players who are in the system. But who's watching the players who have been cut out of the system?
How good are they getting?
You know, are they asking for VO links to games to watch kids who have been cut out of the system? Are they liaising with club coaches of the players who have been cut out of the system to see how they're progressing? Are they having those conversations? Are they going to watch schools on Saturday mornings? That's where I think that they're really missing a trick in the sense of, you know, like that player that you talk about, it gets up to S4. Yep. He might have been picked. He might have been missed. He might have been told at S1 he's not good enough, but he might have been ready at S2, or he might have been ready at under 15. But there he's gone 2 years through the system before he's been identified because he's been outstanding.
Yep. Not
because he's been progressing. But surely the reason that they've been left out and the reason that it would be reselected again is because they've shown progression in their development. Not that someone's outstanding. It's just, I just think we get it wrong. Here's one. I think we ruin more young players than we develop them.
It's a strong word, but there's probably evidence for that. And I think that's why, again, we opened up the can of worms originally going.
And we don't just ruin, let's be honest, we don't just ruin 15, 16, 17-year-olds. We ruin young professionals as well. Guys who've maybe not cut it, and then they're cut. And you're like, right, well.
Especially that, if you relate that to, say, like an under-20s player or an academy player who's probably put...
How are you good enough to be in an academy for 3 years, right?
And then tell them
17s, 18s, 19s. You play Scotland under-20s. Your next step has got to be professional rugby. Now, if you're a starter in the Scotland under-20s team, well, here's the thing. Do you tell the pro teams that they need to take so many Scotland under-20 players into their ranks each year? Do you turn around and say, right, Edinburgh, you need to take 5, Glasgow, you need to take 5. That's a non-negotiable. That's how we're going to develop our young players.
As in Scottish homegrown players? I think.
So if you play Scotland under-20s last year, We're going to commit to developing 10 of them through the professional game.
I think
Edinburgh
we
get 5,
need it.
Glasgow get 5.
And again, look at your roster, to use probably an American word, and go, where do you see yourself in your current squad age profile? So maybe we're then looking at, say, at Glasgow going, right, okay, where's the next 10? Where's the next tight head prop? Where's the next full back? And go, right, okay, the age and stage of some of our current starters is in that 28 to 32 category. Now we've got someone who's in that sort of 23 to 25 category who's maybe coming at the back of them. That's an application. Who's under them? No. Well, there's a clear gap in centre. So is it a centre, a 9, a wing? Like,
See, when you say that, you're right to a certain degree.
Is that too much logic? Have I applied a very...
No, I think there is. But also, what happens if you've got 2 really good scrum halves? Take the 2 of them.
100%.
Why cut one? What is the... And it's happened before, is that, you had... We'll not mention any names, but you had three locks, all around the same age. And Scottish Rugby said, well, we're going to take him. We're not going to take him. What do you mean? What do you mean you're not going to take him? He's as good as him. Nah, but we're taking him. Why not take 2 of them? It doesn't mean that. Honestly, it fries my brain. And if you have outstanding talent, I couldn't care less if it was 10 front row and 1 back.
It'd be great if you had 10 front row
and the 1 back, or if it's 10 backs and 1 front row, that's what you take and that's what you develop, because
exceptional talent is exceptional talent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you look at Johnny Ventisai, who played against Glasgow. He did not look out of place against Leinster whatsoever.
Proper youngster, under 20s captain. I think
there's more of them.
Aye,
and there's more of them, and there's more of them to be unearthed. But what it requires is knowledge and being able to develop young players. And what it takes is foresight, being able to see where a player might be in 2 years' time. Okay, he's maybe not ready now, but he could be in 2 years' time. So I don't think we're any good at that.
So that would then be, to kind of bring that bit to, I suppose, a conclusive statement would be, we are potentially ruining players because we've not got enough honest and descriptive conversations on how we can then forecast and go, right, Jimmy, if we were going to look at going way down at the age of sort of 14, 15 on that pathway journey, it's a no for just now, but go away and work on X, Y, and Z. Detailed feedback, not only to player, face to face, then share that feedback with the school/club who've nominated you. Because I've nominated players this year. I'm very excited. I've man of 15 boys, you've done a bit of work with them in the past. There's 4 or 5 really good, talented players in there across the board who have got a great opportunity. And I'm hearing from their feedback, going, did you enjoy it? It's right, quite good, but they're splitting kids early. They're having a early development group, late development group, which I suppose is quite good, because I'd like to see that, because then you're getting kids playing at the right level. But if we then, rather than just trying to find one player now, exceptional talent, why can't we then find 10? And as you said, if it's 10 front rows, having those honest conversations, forecasting where players could aspirationally get to, and then giving them that pathway word we've used there, that player pathway from 15 to 16 to 18, all the way to Scotland under 20s, to then the next step, as you say, should be into Glasgow and Edinburgh. We don't have enough people making that actually happen.
No,
that lacks the support for the kids need.
If you're in Scottish Rugby as a talent ID or as a pathway or an academy coach, your best friends should be club coaches. They should be your best friends, because you should be on the phone to be able to pick up the phone to, and I'm pulling a name out there, say, right, Carther's under 16s. Who have you got? Who have we missed? Is there anybody there that we could bring in? That's the conversations that's needed, because that's the conversations that will unearth someone. Now, they might have to call in 30 players to get 2, but that's 2 more than what you would have had without missing them.
For 30 phone calls / emails.
Exactly. Who have you got? Who's been nominated?
Or better yet,
who
can
do
we
you
come
think,
see?
Who do I come and watch? Where do I come and watch them? When is the game? That's how real talent's identified. That's how it's done in Ireland. It just, I don't understand it. People who are in these positions have a responsibility to develop the best players. And that's fine, right? However, all players deserve the opportunity to become the best players. So from my point of view, is that if you have a best player and you cut them at the first cut, you know what they say, the first cut's the deepest.
Yeah.
Right? That was a song, right? So the first cut's the one that they remember. But if you can say to them, right, okay, it's not the now, as you said, but what I want you to do is I want you to go away and work at A, B, and C, and in 3 months' time, I'm going to check in with you. I'm going to check in with your club coach, or I'm going to check in with your school coach, and then we're going to see if we can bring you back in. Doesn't happen.
No.
And I know it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But for a country our size, we can't afford not to be doing that.
We can't afford to turn away talent.
No.
In whatever capacity it is, because talent at 15, 16, 17, 18 could be exceptional.
Yeah.
Exceptional, could be running out with a fistler on their chest in male or female game.
Well, you look at Hamilton Burr. Hammy Burr. Was it Stirling? Was he good enough to get said he wasn't good enough to get contracted? Went to Waikato. Played Waikato on NPC and has played Super Rugby. And you tell me he's not good enough to play for Glasgow? Come on. Come on. And he's not the only one.
Well, there's the next point. You beat me to there. It's just going, that's one player, one example.
Who was in the system.
Where, and again, it's the, are we not working hard enough at that foundational level before we start to pick our players and build them into what is this talent ID pathway? Are we not working hard enough at that 15, 16, 17, 18 when those really strong development ages to, as you say, bring those players back in and support those kids, have those honest conversations? How do we then support the kids mentally and emotionally with them? I can think of one example just last week, fourth year lad who was in that group, who was playing school rugby with me for 3-4 years, non-player, great, raw but athletic, talented. He's just talented. Probably struggled to find a clear position. So when he was then exposed to that pathway program, because he was going up against someone who had maybe played that position for 3 years consistently, whereas for me, you could play here, you could play here, and he said, "What do you want to play?" "Just when I'm having fun, sir." "Well, try 12, try 6.
Yeah.
And varying degrees of success because he was a good player. That player then stepped away because in the environment he was in, he was told no. Didn't enjoy the must win at all costs, stand there, get your head stoved in off the big boys. Wasn't ready for that yet. Stepped away from playing the game. Came to me just 2 weeks ago. Last week even. Yeah, last week. I'm thinking about getting back into rugby. Amazing. So we had a 20-minute conversation. I'm going all in on. He actually plays a musical instrument. He's a very talented musician. Said, say you don't play an instrument for 2 weeks, 2 months, or 6 months. You've not forgotten how to play it. No, but I'm rubbish. I'm like that. You're rusty. So how do you get better with your instrument? He goes, you retune it, you start at the basics, you work on the scales. He gave me all the answers. I'm like that. You know everything you need to go and do. It's now just you actually putting the boots on, the gum shield, and getting back on the grass. Right. And he was like, you're right. And I'm not saying that I've now this epiphany moment for this player, or I've saved this player, or he's going to go on and play for Scotland. None of that. It's just proof in the pudding of face-to-face conversation, some honest feedback, just going, talent is still talent. Let's not overlook it.
I actually question how we identify it as well.
Do you think we need to employ?
And do you know we've got three options. We've got 3 times in the season, right? We've got Easter, October, summer, and you could actually say Christmas, right? So you've got 4 opportunities to run camps for these kids.
And we say camps, what we're talking, like, are we just talking talent ID?
Talent ID camps. Talent ID, and also, well, it could be whatever you like. It's another opportunity of kids on board.
And would you be looking at, say, girls and boys like 14s, 15s, 16s, 18s? Again, that big development secondary school age.
They used to have a camp. Where was the camp? Was it at Strath that used to run a camp? There used to be a camp where kids could go during the summer. I can't even remember where that was. But you have a camp, and you have players who are in the system and players who want to be in the system, players who have been in the system, who have been cut. You bring them all back into the one place and you run them for a week. And you see who's developing over the course of that week.
By run them in the sense of
scenario-based games, play,
skills and drills,
trial games, conditioning, S&C, all of it. Leicester have open trials. Leicester Tigers have open trials at Welford Road from 15 to 18-year-olds. Now, see if they can do it. I'm quite sure Glasgow or Edinburgh could do it.
Yep.
You know,
It's hard not
like
to
the
draw.
NFL.
Yeah, again, you're much sharper than me this morning. It's that. Do we then need to look out to look in a little bit? They're going, how can we borrow some good practice? So things that you see, and we're talking football, basketball, stateside. They run camps, so big schools, big colleges.
You've got the facilities.
They've got the facilities to do them, and as you say, it's in downtime. It's pre-season. It's fall break. It's Christmas. They run these things where you have kids who travel from states away, hundreds of miles to come in because that's a really good program at high school or even at junior school. Who kids come in and it's skills, drills, games, play, and you then get an invite back. Or actually, if you're there, there's talent ID there who just goes, right, never mind this level. We actually think you need to be going to this level. So we will then work with your parents and support you to then take you to this one. So you might be playing double A.
Yeah.
You've actually been, you've outstripped everyone at this level. So we could keep you here and go, he's ours or she's ours, and regardless of the sport. The right thing then to do is that talent ID is then going, no. For the good of the game, as a custodian who just wants to see more players play and get it to the best level possible, you need to go play Triple A. So you're going to go and trial at this school or this programme. Yeah, we're missing
and
the
you
trick with some
invite
basics.
Scottish qualified players like the Irish Exiles do. You know, you just cast your net as wide as you can, give as many players as good an opportunity as you can. But the thing for me is that Scottish rugby's in debt year on year. Year on year, it's in debt.
We don't have the staff to run this.
Year on year, it's in debt. You know, it's having to run 2 professional teams, a full Murrayfield at Autumn Internationals, and Six Nations doesn't even seem to be servicing the debt or reducing the debt. I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem to be.
How exciting that competition was this year.
So what chance have you got of actually investing money?
When, again, I'm the only rugby guy in my department. There's 5 or 6 other teachers at school who are rugby enthused. They like watching the product internationally. Maybe not necessarily a professional club, and that's fine. Who'll catch me and go, oh, Chris, did you see the game at the weekend? I missed the game, 2-year-old, but I caught the highlights. I would always make a purpose of touching base, and that's great to hear. But when you've got staff you never really spoke to in a rugby conversation before, who stop you going, by the way, I was gripped by the games, not just the ones that Scotland are playing in, because the product on the field is so good.
It was as good as it's been for a number of years.
Who's winning? Who's who's getting beat? Who's home? Who's away? Just conversation that had never been had before. If the product there is so good and yet we're still struggling, then it's way out with my realm. But it's
Eddie Hearn got interviewed, the boxing promoter about rugby. And who was it that interviewed him? I think it was James Haskell that interviewed him. And what would he do in terms of marketing the game?
Pre-match hype.
Yeah,
I think I've seen or heard about snips of that.
All of that. You know, we have to almost Americanise the sport.
Captivate an audience.
Attention.
Captivate an audience. Captivate investors.
Yeah. Captivate, an audience. Well, I don't know if there's any point captivating investors in this country because Scottish Rugby will not allow investors in, as it was shown when the 2 brothers who owned Edinburgh done it for a season, I think, and then chucked it because of meddling from HQ. So I don't know if investing in a franchise, call it like Glasgow or Edinburgh, is appealing to businessmen. You know, not like down south where it's like you've got Bath or you've got Leicester, who are their own entities within the union, within clubs as members of the union down there. Glasgow and Edinburgh are very much ran by Scottish Rugby. And would they want that arm to be detached? And I can't see it.
It's frustrating.
I can't see it.
Just one last thing I would, suppose, for rounding up our therapy session would be, what's next? There's a wee bit of the season left. Are you either club-wise or you're working your community with your primary schools, your secondary schools? Have you got anything else lined up before we finish up at summer? Or is it a case of now just consolidate, review and start planning for next?
That's the prep process is kind of started both at senior level and, we'll start back in June. First 3 weeks in June we'll train.
And is that with Corstorphine?
Yeah, and then we'll break for 2 weeks, then we'll come back in and start proper second week in July. So
There's pre-season session where you say, brand new balls, cones are all clean, the grass is looking great. Like, here, sir, we're getting a game, we're getting. My kids are like, we're getting a game. You're like, no, lads, bit of conditioning. You get to touch the ball in 20 minutes.
Aye. So and the boy, listen, and the boys know what's coming. You know
but surely your group on the back of the season they have
So the
had.
challenge in my review has been, how do we go again?
Again, yeah. What's your
how
step
do we
up?
improve again?
Yeah.
And there are areas of the game that the players, I've spoke to the players about as a group, that we need to improve on, and we will. So there's that. In terms of the schools, you know what it's like yourself, kind of after Easter, everybody's looking at summer terms, so therefore access into schools isn't so great, so therefore it's about planning the S&C sessions, you know, for our youth section teams at the club, and just generally being busy, you know, running camps, one-to-ones. Yeah, it goes on and on and on.
It's the hamster wheel, isn't it?
And you know something that's not working. You know, people say, you know, you work hard. I say, I don't work. I don't work. I really don't work. And I don't mean that flippantly or funny, but I don't work. You know, I go out the house to go and coach rugby.
Yeah.
You know, and people say,
enjoy your job and work it down your life.
Being self-employed is not easy, you know, and this and that. And I'm like, no, I can imagine it isn't easy, and I'm not saying it is easy all the time. However, 95% of the time I'm like, how are we going to look at tackle tonight? How are we going to look at scrummaging tonight? You know, really,
judge, jury, and executioner. You get to carry it all out.
But if I'm doing that, I'm like, where's the stress in that? You know, and probably one of the things of that I've thought long and hard about is, obviously my 9-year-old daughter came back into my life this year.
That's fantastic.
And I'm getting married next year.
Congratulations.
And I'm like, yeah, Corstorphine won the league and things are going good, and I'm happy with that. But as a man, or as maybe a West of Scotland male, you're always like,
yeah, you should have.
Somebody's going to kick the legs from underneath me.
You're waiting.
So my mantra now is very much, what's next? Go forward. Just keep going. Keep challenging myself, and trying to, you know, maximise that time. Firstly, balance that time between, because I see it's not work, right? The temptation for me is I go the other way. So I'll do 6 sessions a day. No bother. I'll be up to 7 o'clock at night. But you've got to then look at family time, flip that back. So that's a challenge because of the kind of personality I am. I'm kind of, yeah, but I would coach all day, you know. But yeah, so it's finding that, and then with the, you know, kind of the charity stuff that I done there on Friday, which was
so come on, 10 seconds on that. So I'm aware of it, but just for anyone who's maybe listening.
So some idiot came up with an idea of doing a series, that idiot being me, that series of sessions over the course of 16 hours.
Just 16, no fancy.
20 well, hours. Do you know actually
15 no enough, do 16.
24 might be the next one.
Well, I have some experience in one of them myself, so
yes, and I might tap into that. It might be the next one, but anyway, that's for now. So basically, yeah, Susan's dad passed before Christmas.
Spoke about that, yeah.
So
it's a tough blow for the family.
Yeah, really tough. So kind of looked at doing something for Asthma and Lung UK. What are we going to do? Right, okay. We're going to do 9 sessions over the course of 16 hours. And I'll be honest with you, when I got to the end of the 7th one, I was like, I don't have another 2 in me. I'm not doing it. And I actually got off the machine in the gym, went and sat down and went, I think that's me done. 5 o'clock, I was like, I'm not doing it anymore. I can't. And everything was sore.
Tatters, yeah.
You know, and people that come in and see me, I'm laughing and joking with them. You know, as soon as they turn around and go back out the door, I'm like, oh. You know, I'm like, oh. You know, and the actual thought in the last 2 sessions of getting on the rower horrified me. I thought, you know, and it was like this mental block. I was like, I can't go on that. I physically can't think about pulling that.
Yeah.
And moving my legs backwards and forward. That's not doing anything for me. I want to go home.
So what flipped? How'd you get on?
Nah, you just get on it. You just get on it, start pulling.
Close your eyes and pull like a
Then
dog.
you get the cold sweats.
Yeah.
You know, you get the cold sweats and the sweat's running down your back, but you're cold and you're like, oh, what's going on? Do I need water? You have water, you have electrolytes, you have food. Nothing's quashing that feeling.
Yeah.
Nothing. Because you know you're fueled.
This sounds familiar.
And you know you've had water, but there's
it's in the grey matter.
It is, and your napper's telling you, what are you doing? Just stop.
Stop.
Just stop. You know, so when the time came on Friday, I was I was pretty happy that it was done. And being honest, I don't know if I can see myself doing another one anytime soon.
Well, you've definitely earned a bit of a breather and a break kind of thing.
Yeah, no, but listen, it was good, a great cause. Really delighted so many people donated. I'm really appreciative of it. And it's going to go to a very worthwhile cause. It was for a good human being, you know?
Yeah.
It was for a good man who I've known since I was 16, you know?
It's a nice testament and way that you can then not only honour and celebrate him, but the act of just being a bit selfless and doing something for something bigger for other people. There's huge power in that, so physically and mentally. So we kind of touched on a few of those things that this bit of therapy I'd say today.
Yeah, it's probably
it's great.
And so I think you normally
credit to you and the family for
getting
through that.
I appreciate that. Come to the end of the season, it's a therapy stroke planning, isn't it, for next year?
Well, again,
what have I learned? What do I need to do? How do I get better? And then you're like, how do I get better? I thought I'd done all right. Right, okay, but you need to go.
I'm right in the middle of that myself in terms of because school for us runs till June, so we've been on the sprint to get the seniors out for formal exams. So Easter break's just around the corner. But we've had some really good success with the junior rugby team. So we've actually got a semi-final. It's the Glasgow Warriors. It's the SP Energy Networks. Yeah, it's Scotland. It's the SP Energy Networks Schools Championship, run by and hosted by Glasgow Warriors. So we won a qualifying round, but we need to go back for a semi-final. And I don't know who we play or what the format is the semi, but we've got Mar College, ourselves, Belmont, Falkirk, and Balfron from Ayr.
Oh, right, okay.
Belmont Academy. Yeah. So we're up against it. There's some great schools in there, but the semi-final is the Tuesday. So the kids come back on the Monday, and we go and play semi-final on the Tuesday. So I'm currently doing that. Like,
would they not come in off the holidays?
So we're going to have to look at some form of just again blow the cobwebs away.
Aye.
Do something. Just do 90 minutes of. It sounds daft, but you can go really all in on that session, or you can just go 90 minutes of play. And actually let them drop the ball loads. No feeling any pressure.
The play, the game-based scenario stuff is probably going to get...
The kids are... Win, lose, draw on the day. Yes, winning is great, winning is successful, but for me to provide those opportunities, or the fact that SP Engine Networks and Glasgow Warriors provide those opportunities for our kids, I think that's why the competition is so important for us, because it's the closest thing to national competition we get. So we've still kind of got a bit of rugby going on there. So once that semi-final, potential final is then done and the exam season's underway, I'll be like you, because I've still got that playing coaching hat on. That'll get off planning and looking ahead, because I'll try and use as much as that May, June. Because I think like a lot of teachers, the one who's most organised or earliest organised usually gets access to a minibus or gets the dates in the diary sharpest.
In the diary, yeah, that's
if it's
mine.
in the diary, I'm in. So we've got a big busy department. There's so much sport at our school, which is phenomenal. It's a great place to be in. And a big shout out actually to our Wallace girls, actually our senior girls football team. They're actually in the Scottish Cup final for the third year running. So under 18 girls are back-to-back Scottish Cup champions. First time was at Hampden, they won. Second time was at Falkirk Stadium, they won. They're actually going to go for the third in a row, Hampden. It's also that first week back as well. So there's still loads going on at our school kind of thing. So yeah, it's still a bit of playing to get through, but then after that I'll be picking up the phone to you for some planning and review and just going, hopefully what am I need to be looking at? What are you thinking about? What are you running in your schools? What's been great? So I'll probably have to pick up the phone and get some ideas off you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, absolutely. In the meantime,
thanks again.
Anytime. Therapy.
I appreciate that. Yeah,
thank you very
much. Much needed therapy.
Sometimes you need it before. It's that chance to clear the air. Just hit the reset button.
Ideal.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thanks again.